There we go. We'll hook up there in the beginning, but hey everybody, welcome to another Dissecting the Walking Dead. Once again, I'm joined by my buddy James.
How you guys doing?
And today we'll be talking about the first half of Season 3. Wasn't necessarily remembered as the best season, but after rewatching it, I don't know. I kind of liked it better this time around.
Yeah, you gotta watch these things again, and you know it kind of changes your opinion about them. I think when you watch it on a week to week basis, um, you have the whole week that goes by, and a lot of the trailers to set up the next episodes or the upcoming episodes kind of get your hopes up, and then if you get hit with a filler episode, it kind of brings it down a little bit. But when you actually can go back and look at these seasons, you see things you didn't see before. So I agree with Jay. I still think this was one of the weaker seasons in the series, especially after I really invested in rewatching season 2, and just this one was okay. But
Yeah.
again, I mean, you're not talking about Fear the Walking Dead again. Hate to keep picking on that show, but that's just the easy target right now. But there was a lot of good episodes, and of course, when we get into the back 8, we'll go over those. But right now, this is the first 16 episode season for The Walking Dead, and it started off great to me. And it built up, and it had some great moments. It had some questionable moments, and it's still The Walking Dead. I mean, it started set ratings records for the show. Obviously, as I said before, when you have season 1, season 2 being so great, season 3,
It's tough to maintain. I mean,
it is. But
it's gonna take a fall sooner or later.
they actually started to their ratings started to rise because of the popularity of the show, and they were able to maintain it, and it's set up for a great season 4. A great, I should say, it's set up for a very well anticipated season 4.
That's probably better.
Yeah,
Better word
because
there.
season 4 was another one that was, while it had some great moments, and we'll get into that, and I guess we're gonna go because we're coming up quick on the premiere, the
Yeah.
mid-season premiere. So, we'll probably get to that after this season is over. Season 7's over. We'll get to 4, 5, and 6, right, Jay?
Yeah. Prior to this
Yeah.
one, we'll do recaps for all those as well.
Yep. But anyways, back to season 3.
Yeah, I liked how it started off. It showed a more mature group. Actually, them
It
surviving out there.
it did, and it started off. Like I said, it's 16 episodes now. Um, we're still in the era of Glenn Mazzara, and we still have the same showrunner. Toward the end of the season, they switched showrunners, going into season 4, but there was a reason for that. Just the creative writing didn't go the way they wanted it to. But to start off this season,
Yeah.
you finished off the first episode was called Seed. They left Herschel's farm. The first scene that you saw was the group breaking into an abandoned house for refuge and also to scavenge for supplies. You obviously seen Carl. A big thing that I saw of this, there were two things that should stand out in this episode from season 1, and then in season 16 it appear again. But season 1 showed the close up of a zombie's eye, and in a rotating lens, and then it showed Rick and the group coming in and defeating the zombies, and then it showed Carl. He's matured, he's grown up, he's grown from the incident with Dale where he let the walker free from the swamp, and without hesitation, Carl put down a walker. He didn't think twice about it. He didn't tease it. He didn't provoke it. He simply went in the room, saw that there was a walker, shot it, done. Um,
And you compare that to like the people who are in the back. You have Beth back there with Lori. Obviously, she's 9 months pregnant.
yep,
Can't don't expect her to do much.
yep,
You have Herschel. Also,
yep,
kind
and
of rare
Carol,
with them, and Carol.
and Carol, yeah,
Yeah, before she turned that corner, she was definitely a burden for the group there for a little bit.
yeah.
And how about that
Glenn
look of
Beck.
Herschel? That was
Um,
I love that look of him.
Well, Herschel. Well, this just shows you. And I love it because this showed you this shows you that time has passed. It
Yep.
showed you that the survivors are now on the road surviving. They don't have the luxuries of the farm. Um, they are road warriors at this point, and they're scheduled. They're surviving. They're taking shelter from house to house. Obviously, I think the time period was 7 months that had passed. Lori was a month and a half, 2 months pregnant, and she's now full term, as you see there, in the first episode. And Herschel's grown a full beard. Daryl's hair is getting a little bit longer. Rick is starting to grow a beard
Yep.
there.
Yep.
Carol's hair is getting a little bit
the
longer.
story for Scott Wilson, there, the actor who plays Herschel, I think he just arrived on set one day with a full beard to say, "Hey, guys, I want to grow it out. See what you guys thought about it since we're
Yep,
out on the road." And everybody loved it, so
they thought it was great.
yeah, they had to keep it. So that's awesome on his part. And Scott
And
Wilson's an awesome guy too. I got a chance to meet him at
it
Walker
did.
Stalker. Such a nice guy.
Yeah, I thought it was at one of your dinner parties that you guys had, and he just
Well,
stopped.
we get together for
Brought
Spaghetti
over
Tuesdays,
cobbler.
but that's that's neither here nor there.
Here's a Pete's cobbler for you and Kelsey. I'll just drop it off. I wasn't invited, so I'm just gonna drop it off and go back home.
Well, it's good to see him. He's also in a new show on Netflix, The OA. Plays once again a great parent role, and definitely brings some sympathy to his roles and empathy. He's a great actor, and he shows a different side of The Walking Dead.
Yeah, he was incredible. Like you said, Scott Wilson was absolutely incredible. He is one of my favorite characters of Herschel because again, it was a remix of Herschel from the book. He was a little bit more, he was a little bit more. He had more of a sensitive side than the Herschel in the comic books, and you saw it. And he also had that hope to him. And remember what Jay and I said about hope. So the first episode showed, like I said, they left the Herschel's farm. They were scavenging from house to house. They are tired. They're weary. They're hungry. It showed you that Daryl had to kill an owl, and Carl found a can of dog food, and Rick is they're to their last rations.
Yep.
Carl opens up the can of dog food and Rick throws it away. This further shows that he's now a Rictatorship. His group is not gonna eat dog food. They're just gonna keep looking, and you can see the survivors. They do a great shot of all of them being tired.
Yeah.
And it just shows you that Rick isn't accepting just anything. They're going to move on to the next house until they find a meal. And
yeah, like we're not settling. This isn't our life. Don't
no,
get comfortable. Or
exactly.
wait
We
till
have
you
to
get
work.
comfortable. We will be comfortable again. In other words, although
And
the dog food thing. I mean, desperate times, man. I probably would at least stashed it, like just in case. We go a couple more days without food. We're gonna have to break into that.
well, you see that, they always go back. They always take it back. Walking Dead likes to bring up past Easter eggs and past events from other seasons. In season 7, there was a character that everybody loves. He had to eat dog food sandwiches. So they brought back the concept of dog food. The survivors having to eat dog food.
Yeah, and also down the road, they actually have to eat dog.
Dogs, yeah.
So,
Desperate times call for desperate measures, yeah. and so they move out. You see Lori's, 9.5 months pregnant at this point. They move out, and then they pan out to the credits, the opening credits. You no longer see John Bernthal's name there. You no longer see Dale, Jeffrey Dumont. He's no longer part of the credits because they both have died. So now you see Scott Wilson is promoted. Maggie Green or Laurie Cohen's promoted. You start to see the promotions of these characters, and now you're starting to get an established group of characters. Rick, Carol, Daryl, Carl. They've made it 5 seasons, and Glenn. They've made it 3 seasons at this point. So they're becoming regulars. They're becoming the core 5. You're starting to see that a little bit, and they all meet on the road after the walkers come, and the walkers are attracted to noise. They have to quickly leave the house. They're on the road. They're tired. Rick gives out directions to the group. The group tells them, "Hey, look, there's walkers everywhere. We've scavenged these areas. We scavenged these areas. What are we supposed to do now?" And Rick says, "We're gonna have to go again. We're gonna have to do it again. Hopefully, this herd and this herd won't meet up, and we'll keep moving. We have to." And Herschel makes a great. He has a great moment here where he says to Rick, "We can't keep moving. She can't take anymore."
Yeah.
And Rick again, the dictatorship is still in effect here, and he says, "I don't want her to have the baby on the road." And Herschel looks at him and says, "We don't have a choice."
Yeah. Yeah. We don't have many options right now. There's a plan A, and that's it. So.
And then they go on, and Daryl and Rick find the prison. I thought that was a great scene where they clear out the prison, and they're in the yard. They're in the prison yard after they clear out the prison yard of the walkers. And they finally have room, and Carol and T-Dog show excitement, show joy, show hope. This is the most space we've had since the farm, Carol said. And the group gets to stretch out a little bit and actually get some rest.
Yeah, it takes a
But
breather. Yeah.
Rick doesn't want them to take too much of a breather.
Mm.
And you got to keep in mind the relationship with Rick and Lori here, because again, this goes back to there's a strain in their relationship, and it goes back to showing you that Lori, Rick is starting to realize Lori did not want him to survive. He gives you little hints about this throughout the episode. And then Daryl says something that gives the audience even more of a hint that everybody believes that it's Shane's baby. When Carol brings him food, and he goes, "Oh, what, baby Shane?" He says, "Baby Shane isn't hungry," and Carol tells him he's mean, and then finally makes a pass at him like she wants to sleep with him. They talk about oral sex a little bit, and Daryl gets all shy and runs away. So
Yeah, I'll go down first.
So you see the end of one relationship in some sense in this collection of scenes, and then you see the beginning of another friendship between Daryl and Carol.
Yeah, and that's never, it never crosses that line though. There's never
Romantic
quite
the line.
love. I think there's love and appreciation between the two, but it's not necessarily
And I think that Daryl at this point, there's rumors of him being gay, being asexual. I just don't think that. I think he's such in survival mode that they don't have to give his sexuality a title at this point. But right now they're hinting that characters are starting to have feelings for him. Characters are starting to get closer to him, and you can see that with Carol. She's the one who gets the closest. All the efforts he put into finding Sophia. But back to Rick, the Rick-tator. And the group is tired. And they hear a nice song. The first time we hear Beth sing. Mm-hmm. They hear a nice song from Beth. And then they also have Maggie join in this song. And it was nice. It was a calming moment. And Rick, he's pacing around looking for weak spots. And Lori goes and talks to him. And he says, "Hey, look, we got to push in." And he tells Lori, "I'm still here. Thank you for coming and showing concern, but I'm doing things right now." So he shoos her off. He goes back to the group and says, "Hey, we got to push in, guys. There's food, medicine, everything we need is inside this prison.
And it's within reach now. We can see it. We can do this."
And obviously they go hand to hand. There's a very good line of his. He tells Carl, "We'll take it easy. These assholes don't have a chance." And they go in they go into battle hand to hand, and it was a great scene, great battle scene, lots of action with prison walkers, guard walkers that were fully armored. I mean, these guys went hand to hand, and they had formation. It shows that they're battle tested at this point. It starts to show you that they have some sort of battle training. Rick has gotten them all ready to fight. This comes up later in the season too. This is important. And they just work with each other, and they actually make it into the prison. And this was my favorite episode. This to me was one of the best episodes of the season. Was the first one.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like you said, it has had his storylines going on, and it definitely has the action that we're craving, and it's a perfect way to kick off everything.
It is. And before we get into the prison, they switch over and they show us another epic comic book character introducing Michonne. Shows us how Michonne is taking care of a sick Andrea at the time in a deer cooler. Andrea is basically death warmed over at this point. She knows she's not going to make it. Michonne has to make a decision to seek refuge, to seek medical attention for Andrea, or she won't make it.
Yeah, I mean, that Andrea just admits it. If we stay here, like, I know you want to stay, but if we stay, I'm going to die. We have to go somewhere. And I might die on the way, but I'm going to die here either. So we got to take the chance. We got to gamble here.
And then of course they get, they have a couple of moments together, but this episode really didn't focus on them. I guess they just wanted to introduce us to Michonne, show us what she's capable of with the katana blade. Easily taking out 4 or 5 walkers in the 3 walkers in the drugstore, and without breaking a sweat, and introduced us to her pets, her 2 walkers on chains. It was really good. I thought this was an excellent season premiere. I mean, at this point, obviously compared to season 2 and season 1, this was a good follow-up to 2 great premieres. So, you couldn't have.
Before it even ends, you have a frantic moment with Herschel.
You sure do. So they get into the prison.
Yeah.
And, they clear out a cell block. And, again, another classic moment is when Maggie says she looks at the walls full of blood and guts in the bed. And she says she doesn't even care. She's tired. She's full of crap already from fighting outside. Mm-hmm. She just wants to rest. And these people have been out. They've probably been sleeping on floors. They get beds. This is a luxury they hadn't had. So
yeah.
You now have them once again. There's hope, and Rick continues to push, and he says, "You guys, we're not done yet." And it just emphasizes what he said in season 2 finale. This is not a democracy anymore. It's my way or the highway. These people are tired. They finally get a break.
Yeah.
They finally, not only do they get a break, they go unscathed into the prison. They clean out a cell block. They finally get another break, and Rick is still pushing them. So he pushes them further into the prison to look for, the supplies, the medical supplies, whatnot.
You do see a moment of Rick kind of like showing his wear and tear a little bit to the camera, at least, where he squats down, against the wall, just kind of.
Yeah, he takes it in.
Yeah. I mean, he's tired too, just like everybody else. But as a leader, he has to hide it. If he starts showing demoralization, then everyone else is going to follow suit, and it goes downhill from there.
Yeah, and I think he had a little moment with Lori when Lori said, everybody's tired. This was a good win. Yeah. He kind of brushes her off again. So this just further shows you that their marriage is estranged, and it's not good. Rick now has come to terms that Lori had an affair with him, with Shane, and caused him to kill his best friend, but he was not the man that she wanted, and it became clear at the end of season 2. Season 3, they re-emphasize this point. They go inside of the prison the next day. They leave Carl behind. They go inside the prison, and they're tired. You could tell that they're prone to making mistakes. You see Herschel walk over a stagnant walker, and then he walks over him again a second time as the group is split up a little bit here, and he gets his leg bit, and it forces Rick and the group to take action immediately. They break into a cafeteria, which is locked up. They bring Herschel inside, and they chop his leg off to save his life. And that was a very gory scene. We're going to get into that, too, next. But they meet prisoners.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Jay.
I was going to say, with the sleeping zombie, that's kind of like almost Bush League. You know what I mean? Like, come on. We walked by him once.
Yeah.
And then we walked by him again. This time he kind of comes out at us.
I think he brushed him, and I think the zombies.
He did walk closer. Like maybe the zombie didn't smell him.
Yeah.
And this time actually walked between the legs. So. Exactly,
and he brushed him, and I think the zombie, the first time it probably probably aroused the zombie a little bit because he was in a different position
Right.
if you look back at it closely. But this was an excellent episode. You had action, you had drama, you had tension, you had a zombie bite, you had new characters, new
Mm-hmm.
characters, new characters. It was unbelievable. Plus, you got to see the prison. So this
Yeah.
was one of the more solid episodes of the season. And about the gore, you got this is a zombie show, and a lot of people are complaining lately about the gore and all this other stuff. So
Yeah,
now
with
they're
the season
taking it
premiere.
down.
Yeah.
You can't take away from you can't take the gore out of the show because you're ruining the show.
It's
Uh,
Walking Dead. It's
It's a zombie
you know.
apocalypse show. You've been seeing this for years now. You've seen gore for years, and just because now you have Negan bashing in somebody's head, you've never seen anything. You've had the governor cut off Herschel's head. You've
Yep.
had Terminus slice people's throats after hitting the back of the head with bats.
Yep.
You've had Rick, completely destroy Gareth. I mean, you have Rick biting somebody's throat out, but you get mad at Negan, bashing people's skulls in with a bat. Like, do you not remember all the other gory events from?
And you
It's
have
like,
to stick to it. It's a brutal world out there. There's no,
it is like,
this isn't day camp. You gotta.
why are you watching the show to complain about the gore? It's stupid as hell. People need go watch something on NBC. You know what I'm saying, or some other channel. Watch Cartoon Network. They don't got a lot of gore in that. It's ridiculous. Why are you watching The Walking Dead to complain? So
Or
okay,
wait till it comes out on CW. I think CW
Yeah.
tones it down. So
Jesus Christ, and you're taking now. They're talking about now. The producers are saying, "Hey, you want to bitch about this? We'll just take away these scenes," and it hurts the fans that want to watch the show.
yeah.
So anyways, with my venting, I'll stop now. So the episode ends with them meeting the prisoners, and the next episode shows the conclusion of that. And Rick obviously has to contend with the new, I guess you could say, new antagonist in Tomas. They make a deal with the prisoners to clear out a cell block for them. And they tell the prisoners, hey, look, we'll clear out a cell block. You guys, you'll stay away from our people, and you give us half your food. And Tomas is a hardened criminal, and they don't know that the world went to shit, and they don't believe Rick when he said the world went to shit. But a very good moment here as well showed Tomas telling Rick, telling his group basically. He said, "Why would people break into a prison? Something's right here. Why there is nowhere for us to go. You guys are kicking us out, but why are you trying to be in a prison?"
Yeah, it's like, what are you doing here? You guys don't look like the help or the rescue.
Yeah. So they save they tend to Herschel. They save his life.
Yep.
You start to see the breakdown of relationship between Carl and Lori. Carl's starting to take the disrespectfulness from his dad.
Mm-hmm.
He's starting to look at Lori in a different light as well. He goes off on his own. He brings back medical supplies. Lori kind of scolds him, and he yells at Lori to get the hell out of his face. Get the hell off my back.
Like, I just saved that guy's life.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't start chastising me.
Exactly. So this is the time Lori wants to be a mom and say to Carl, where are you running off to when he's done it for a whole season before? He did it like 13 times before, and she didn't say anything.
Yeah,
So
but once again, she's still not paying attention to the kid. She doesn't learn. Like, what, you didn't notice he was gone? It's a prison.
Oh.
It's always so big.
Oh my goodness.
I did like the scene where there's like a second where Herschel stops breathing, and then he comes back to life after Lori gives him mouth to mouth, and then there's
Resuscitate him, and you thought there was tension there too. Like I said, this was a good follow-up episode as well, because you had a lot of action here as well.
Mm-hmm.
You got to meet all of Big Tiny, Tomas.
Yeah, that's another thing I want to bring up was the scratch. We've never actually seen anybody turn from a scratch.
Yeah, you don't. But again, I
It's the
think
infection, but
yeah,
I want to like it's never been confirmed.
and you can see that Rick doesn't care about these people to confirm it. He doesn't care.
Yeah,
And he just wants to keep moving on. And obviously, Tomas shows that he's nuts. And Axel and then can't even remember the other guy's name now. Oscar and Axel are the two good prisoners. Tiny's a good prisoner. And then, you have Andrew and Tomas, who are the bad guys. Tomas kills Tiny after he gets, he gets, I guess he gets impaled by a zombie's bony hand.
Yeah.
Obviously, the prisoners don't know how to fight the walkers at this point. They don't know the kill.
That's a funny scene too. They start shanking the zombie.
They're shanking the zombie.
They start kicking him on the ground.
And, it just shows you, again, this shows you that if you're cut off from the world and you don't know what's happening, and then all of a sudden shit hits the fan and you're introduced to walkers. Now imagine a world where you don't have zombie movies and whatnot, and you don't know to shoot these things in the head, and the first thing you see is a bunch of prisoners coming at you that are rotted, stinking. You're thinking like a normal human being. I know how to kill him, man. Let me just go shank him a bunch of times, and it just didn't work. And, Rick, Daryl, T-Dog stood back and watched them act like idiots and then took them out. So it was a learning lesson. And that's, that showed you after they learned how to kill a walker, these prisoners killed walkers the right way. Whereas Fear the Walking Dead, they saw how to kill walkers and they still did dumb shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is why they messed that show up. So it's like one group of prisoners learned within minutes how to kill walkers, and you got a whole collection of survivors still haven't learned what the hell to do.
Maybe they're better teachers, I guess.
Yeah, that's the right answer. So, anyways, he's back. They save Herschel's life. Rick ends up killing Tomas because Tomas, he tried to kill Rick a couple of times in a skirmish when they're trying to clear out one of the cell blocks. Rick kills Tomas with a machete to the head.
That
machete becomes a very key weapon in the future as well. And then Andrew gets away, and producers go back to the choices you make will affect you in the future. So Rick does not kill Andrew.
He doesn't save him. I mean, this is as a guy begging for his life out there, and Rick's just like, I'm not even gonna give you the dignity of killing you myself. Yeah, you better run.
he made a poor choice because this is a prisoner. This is a guy that knows how to survive. He's in the worst of worst places. And again, he's quick, he's crafty. You can see, Andrew's crafty. He's smaller. He has that look to him. He's a real ratty type of guy. And they don't show him die. And they did that for a reason. And it just, you knew something was wrong when you watched Talking Dead and you didn't see him on the deaths. They didn't show how he died. So it kind of, you knew it was going to come back to get somebody at one point. But I thought it was a good episode again. Back-to-back good episodes.
And it showed Rick turning.
It did. It showed him losing. He's turning into Shane.
Yeah.
It showed him turning into Shane in a way.
If that was back in the day, we should take them in prison, throw them in a cell, and just feed them for, years upon years. Mm-hmm. And he's like, no, I'm done with you, Tomas.
Yeah. And if you notice at this point, Rick is starting to embody his enemies. He's starting to absorb his enemies at this point, or the antagonist. Like Jenner, Jenner told him there's no hope, but gave him hope. He used the secret Jenner told him in season 2 to kind of strengthen himself, and then of course Shane battling him all season long. He's starting to show characteristics of Shane, so he's kind of absorbing characteristics and advice from these antagonists of his, and you start to see that a lot in season 3, where Rick just is morphing into Shane before our eyes.
Maybe they should just kill Lori, and those two could have been buddies. Be like, look, now she's dead, so let's just be buddy cop movie now. All right, let's go back to the way it was in the first episode. There
you go. And then now you got, after that episode ends, Herschel's still alive. We don't know what happened to Andrew. Tomas is dead. Mm-hmm. The cell block is cleared. We go back to episode 3. called Walk With Me, and we go back to Andrea and Michonne's adventure.
Yeah.
And they see a helicopter crash. They go to investigate. Um, and then we meet another character, another
And,
antagonist.
and this is where the disappointment kind of set in.
Yeah, and this is this is where I think that they lost the season to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the next antagonist is the governor. Um, he comes out, he also sees the crash, but I'm going to give you a little hint on what happened here. At the beginning of the episode, there was a group of soldiers flying in a chopper. They were obviously scavenging for their group. The chopper starts to go into turmoil, and the helicopter pilot says, "Hey, look, I've been through a little turmoil before." All of a sudden, the chopper went from having turmoil to full blown crashing.
Mm-hmm.
If you look close at this episode, you can see something made the chopper crash, and you kind of get a hint that it was the governor, because the chopper crashed and the governor tracked the crash, and he looked for survivors, and Michonne and Andrea are watching his interaction with the supposed survivors.
Yep.
And they see him put a knife through the skulls of the survivors. Now, mind you, Andrea was not at the campfire to know that anybody who dies becomes a walker.
Yep.
And Michonne, she has not been around people, so
Yeah.
she doesn't know.
Yeah.
So they're watching this, and Andrea's sick, and all of a sudden, when the governor is killing people, and you thought that these two, Michonne and Andrea are safe, Michonne actually takes out her two walker pets. She chops off their heads so they won't make noise. All of a sudden, we get visited from another great character. Merle Dixon appears out of nowhere. He walks up. Remember, he's a tracker. He pops up behind Andrea and Michonne with his new knife hand, and he pulled a gun on both of these ladies. And, welcome back to the world, Merle. And
I was excited to see him.
I was excited.
Everyone was asking about him forever since he wanted to disappear. Like, where is he? What's he doing?
And Michael Rooker was in season 1. He only signed on for the first 2 episodes. Okay, so Michael Rooker, no, episode 2 and the beginning of episode 3 in season 1. Michael Rooker loved the show so much he was only supposed to be there temporarily. That he had other obligations in season 2, that he actually came back and did the Daryl hallucination scene.
Mm-hmm.
And he signed a contract then and there when he was filming that for season 3 to be a series regular.
Yeah.
And he's a great actor. He did a great job this season. He was one of the reasons why I liked the season.
Oh yeah.
So you meet Merle. I mean, you re-meet Merle. We reintroduced to Merle. We're introduced to the governor. We're shown Woodbury. We're shown the governor's, he's very charming, and he's a different governor than the comics.
Yeah,
so,
that's the thing I didn't like. I mean, if I guess you didn't read the comics, you wouldn't mind. But to me, it's just another white guy enemy.
Not only is it that, but it's an incomplete enemy. It's not complete. Like you don't get too much of a backstory on him.
Yeah.
You don't really get too much of a backstory.
You don't get the frailty that you get from the comic book governor. You
don't.
Know? Here's this guy who's been like a piece of crap his entire life and like worthless compared to like his older brother. So he already had issues, and then he gets blamed for his niece's death, Penny. But in this one, it's just a guy who's daughter
just
died.
A guy.
It's
and
like,
not only that, but I really appreciated the comic book and novel governor being this scrawny guy, and he was dark haired, scrawny guy. He was so methodical though, and he was so evil, and he did it for his group. But he lost his mind in the novels.
Yeah,
turned a switch got turned off, and they explained it. But this was a very big threat to Rick, and it showed you Rick couldn't kill him. Rick didn't kill this guy.
Yeah,
it wasn't Rick who beat him.
And the frailty of him was he finally accepted it, saying, "I can't do this by myself. Basically, I have to become something else now. I can't be the big guy going in there smashing things. I have to, used what was given to me basically, and
Yep.
convince these people to follow me.
Yep. And he did, and he was he's a master manipulator.
Oh yeah.
And I like David Morrissey as an actor, but
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, just to see a 6'4", handsome type guy, charming guy. That's not the governor we saw in the comic book. This guy, the governor in the comic book, was a little ratty, long hair,
Fu
Fu
Manchu.
Manchu mustache. He looked like a bad guy, a villain, and
Yeah.
they completely remixed his character. I said it. Negan. Now, if you look at Negan, he's a little bit scrawny compared to his counterpart, but he still has Negan's mannerisms.
Yeah.
He's still Negan. He just doesn't have the weight to him. This is a totally different governor. I mean, this is completely different. Um, so, anyways, they introduce him. The governor introduces himself. Michonne right away doesn't trust him. Andrea becomes instant whore and starts loving the governor. I
Of
mean,
course.
just she falls for him just because he said hello.
Yeah.
So this was Andrea's relationship. I think that they since they didn't give Andrea Dale, I think they wanted to show that she was alone and she didn't want to be alone her whole life. And she wanted that companionship from somebody, even though she had it from Michonne. She wanted she wanted a man's touch in a way. It kept stressing this, with her sleeping with Shane and her defending Shane, and they wanted to show that she was going to have some sort of relationship with a man. And they
Bad
obviously
guy. I mean, she has a thing for bad guys, like bad boys.
she does. She
It's,
does.
oh, you don't play with the rules. I like you. It's like,
Exactly. So a big part of this episode was seeing the governor and seeing how he took one of the survivors back. Obviously, Andrea and Michonne now know that anybody who dies turns. Shows the governor taking one of the surviving soldiers back, and just when you think that he's going to do something right, he goes and he tracks this group down, and he kills all the soldiers, and it shows you that the governor does not want a powerful group. He does not want anybody to mess with what he has or his reign as the governor. He wants to be the most powerful entity there is left. And he takes out a group of soldiers. He sabotages them, and he just completely wipes them out. And at the end of the episode, you see he has the surviving soldier's head in an aquarium full of heads, along with Michonne's pets' heads and everybody else's heads that he killed.
yeah.
And you're starting to say, okay, this is kind of like the comics, but still a little bit off. So again, this was the episode where at the beginning, you see the helicopter crash, and you kind of have to say to yourself, the governor caused this crash if you really were looking at the clues.
I think so. And even Kelsey said, I'm pretty sure that they shot down
They shot the
the
helicopter.
helicopter. I mean, there's 3 trucks ready to go.
Yeah.
It just crashed. Michonne and Andrea were obviously within walking distance. I don't know if the governor can get his group together that fast, travel out there.
Yeah.
I think they were just waiting for it.
Yeah, so I think that they sabotaged the plane.
Mm.
And that was an okay episode because, again, we got to see Woodbury and the governor, and we got to see Merle again. This is where you start when you look at it again. You're saying, okay, this is another decent episode, but it kind of was disappointing to see the governor the way he was. It just disappointed me because I actually, when I read those novels, I formed an attachment to the governor because I was just like, hey, look, this guy they really dug deep into his character, and it was just
great way novels of him.
Yeah, so it was like you now take a liking to the guy, and to see David Morrissey, and it was just like, this isn't and this is why the showrunner was changed because they changed it too much from the comic, and there was too many complaints.
David Morrissey is the picture I had of the governor's brother from the book.
Yes, Philip Blake. Blake.
That's who I would cast it for that. You know, the one that natural-born leader, tough guy. Everyone would follow him naturally just because of his looks and
and his size. Poise. His size, he's a lot bigger than his older brother, Brian Blake. Mm-hmm. And Philip Blake, the original Philip Blake, died, and Brian Blake, took Philip's identity and started calling himself Philip Blake.
Yeah.
This governor was a little bit different. So, anyways, going back. We got the next episode is called Say the Word.
Or
I'm
Killer
sorry,
Killer Within. Yeah.
Killer Within. I'm skipping above. This was my favorite. This was my favorite episode in the series.
Because Lori dies?
In the season. Yeah. Oh, there you go, Jay. Perfect. Thank you.
They just call it that. Let's just change the title. This is the one where Lori dies.
This was my favorite of the season. It just when we watched this episode, we did not know what was coming.
Yeah, we had the people out in the like the one guy out in the forest, like, who is that? What's going on out there? Is it the governor? Who's watching them?
It started out with, as Jay said, there was a person setting up traps and luring walkers into the prison. Mm-hmm. And we didn't know who it was, and I think it might have been Kelsey who said it was Andrew. Might have been Kelsey, either Kelsey or Vanessa. One of the girls said it was Andrew.
Yeah.
And we were like, "No, it can't be. He died." We didn't know.
It wouldn't be him. They should be doing the show, not us, I guess.
I know, right? So anyways, it starts off with Herschel's recovered.
And it gives you that hope.
Gives you that hope again, and it shows Rick watching Lori, and he just had
there for a second.
Yeah, he just had a speech with Lori at the end of episode 2, telling her she's a great mom, but she's not really a good wife. She sucks.
Yeah, well,
and it shows Lori crying, and then it shows Maggie and Glenn's relationship going to the next level. They're sleeping together in guard towers. And the group is starting to see budding love in that sense, and everything is peaceful and happy. It pans out to the remaining prisoners, Oscar and Axel.
But then it was T-Dog, and he was trying to do the right thing.
Yep.
And if there's one thing The Walking Dead
can't
is
have hope. You can't be the voice of humanity. You can't.
Don't be the moral compass.
You can't be the moral compass of this show because you're gonna die. It doesn't matter who you are. I don't care who you are. You're just dead. So, T-Dog, Rick gets upset.
This also starts the trend of, hey, we need room. There's only a quota for a black guy in the group. We can only have one at a time.
Yeah, man, one at a time. So
it's just too quick. It's like, hey, here's Oscar. Oh, there goes T-Dog.
But I like what
there goes Oscar.
I like what Kirkman did after that. He just said, "You guys think that's what I'm doing?"
Yeah.
The show is loaded with them, So it's like, Kirkman. That's not his, and I
don't believe there's any kind of
but people are so damn, just like with the gore. People are just being so damn stupid. It's just don't ruin my goddamn show. I like this show. Okay, I love this show. People keep doing this shit. I'm gonna make my own video, just going on a 2-hour rant, and I'm gonna just put it on CNN. I don't even care. So, but anyways.
Well, if you do, eventually get replaced because it's only room for one. But no. So you have T-Dog saying, hey,
Rick wants to kick them out.
They're humans,
Yeah, Rick sees Oscar and Axel, and he goes nuts, and he wants to, they had an agreement that they wouldn't leave their cell block, and he sees them out, and T-Dog said, "Hey, look, you can't. These guys haven't done anything." And Daryl says, "I know these guys are just degenerates, and I understand what you're saying, T-Dog." And T-Dog said, "So you're in agreement?" And Daryl said, "Hell no, let them survive like we did." They didn't do anything to get this place, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Let them survive out there like we did. So that was enough convincing for Rick, and Rick, again, he makes this kind of was foreshadowing. This was a kind of a foreshadow of what was going to happen to Lori, because Rick tells the story of how he let a prisoner go when the prisoner he knew was guilty, and the prisoner came back and killed.
Was it him or was it a system? I think it was a system where the guy played the sympathy card and the judge fell for it.
That's right. The judge fell for it and let him go home.
Yeah.
But look, the Rictatorship. So you got the Rictatorship is like the system, and T-Dog is like, I mean, Rictatorship is like, Rick as the cop wanting to put him down, and the system's like T-Dog saying, "Hey, give him another chance," and Rick is saying, "Hey, look, if we do that, these guys are gonna come back and get us." Well, Rick did the same thing with Andrew. He let him go. So Rick was basically telling the story of what he did with Andrew without even knowing it.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden now you got these alarms going off. Not even the alarms going off. All of a sudden they pan out and they show Rick looking at Lori. You see the group. Everybody's smiling and happy, and behind Lori and Carl and Herschel are just like maybe 10, 20, 30 walkers that Andrew lured into the prison. And this starts a great chain of events, and we lose. T-Dog gets bit on the arm. He
right
actually
in the back.
survives.
I mean, that sucks.
T-Dog actually saved them by closing the gate, keeping the rest of the walkers from getting into the prison. Lori and Carl are separated. They are separated, and they end up in the prison itself. T-Dog ends up in another part of the prison with Carol. Herschel is safe behind a chain fence. Lori, Carl, and Maggie, they find refuge in one of a prison's what would you call one of the commissary areas, or one of the areas in the prison.
Yeah.
And Lori goes into premature birth. Into premature labor, and
she ruins everything.
She ruins everything. Obviously, the labor isn't going as planned at this point. She's hemorrhaging.
You don't have Herschel around. You don't have Carol around.
You don't have Carol. You don't have anybody there with any medical expertise or with the knowledge to deliver a baby.
Yeah.
So you get to a point where this is a surprise death. Lori tells Maggie, you got to cut me open to save my baby. Don't worry about me. Jay actually stood up. He cried tears of joy when they killed her off.
We had champagne flutes going around. It was
like we won a championship or something. It was ridiculous. We wore goggles. We're spraying each other. The girls on the couch. Champagne flying all over the place. But Lori sacrifices her life to save her baby.
Yeah.
Maggie cuts her open with a rusty knife. Lori dies. She bleeds out.
Which is like, thanks, Lori. You're gonna leave us with this, crying baby.
Perfect.
Thanks.
So Carl puts down his mom, and that further screws Carl up.
That kid's
T-Dog is suffering from the walker bite. You start to see it's having an effect on him. He's bleeding out. They have nowhere to go. There's only one way out at this point, and there's 3 walkers approaching them. 2 walkers approaching them, and T-Dog knows that Carol can't fight at this point. They have no weapons. Carol's useless.
They're out of ammo. Yeah, so
they're out of ammo. So T-Dog sacrifices his. So you have two sacrifices here, to enable two separate survivors to continue to live. You got Judith, and then you got Carol. So T-Dog runs and he sacrifices himself, gets torn apart in a very good zombie death scene. Of course, the PC people they should bitch about this too, because this was a gory scene itself. T-Dog gets ripped apart. Carol escapes, and we don't know if she dies or not. We don't know what happens at the end of the episode.
I think her bandana falls off or something around there.
And it falls off on the floor. And at the end of the episode, Rick basically is in the prison yard after they turn off the alarms. They kill Andrew. They figure out it was Andrew who turned on the alarms and who sabotaged the group. And Rick is in the what is it called, the generator room. And Oscar proves himself worthy of the group by killing Andrew. But it was all for none, because when Rick comes back, comes out of the generator room and steps back outside in the prison yard, he sees that Maggie's carrying his or Shane's baby, Judith, with Carl, and he realizes that Lori didn't make it.
Yeah.
He breaks down and he you lose two great. You lose. Lori was a great character to hate, and T-Dog was a great character. So you lose two characters in this episode. You lose Andrew. This was the best. It was the best episode of the season.
And
So
I was talking to Kelsey. I was like, I think Andrew's the worst bad guy. I mean, you think about it. He kills Lori. He kills T-Dog.
yep, in one episode.
That's
And
two big characters.
he could have killed the baby. So he doesn't care at this point. He's a hardened prisoner.
Yep.
He did it by himself. This is Negan had an army doing stuff. Governor had an army doing stuff. Gareth had an army doing stuff. This is one guy.
Yeah.
And he not only evaded the jaws of death when Rick left him to die in the yard, but he came back and he methodically placed organs. He lured zombies into the prison, and he literally threw a rock in everybody's game. So now you have Lori dead, T-Dog is dead. They think Carol's dead.
Yeah.
This guy is a beast, man, and he died. He's one of the, like you said, he may have been
He's
underappreciated.
Right I mean,
he's right up there. Underappreciated.
Killed two people. He killed two big name people.
Yeah, he's underappreciated.
Yeah.
And so you got the next episode. Say the word. You're going back to the governor. This one is a slower episode here. Michonne leaves Woodbury.
Mm-hmm.
So Michonne didn't like the governor. She didn't trust the governor. She saw that the governor had blood on his on the machines that he brought back to Woodbury from killing the soldiers.
Yeah, there's bullet holes.
Yeah, and she goes, walkers don't use guns.
Yeah.
And biters, and then Woodbury calls them biters.
Mm-hmm.
And she just doesn't trust the governor. She breaks into his apartment. She sees that he's not what he says he is.
Yeah.
So she chooses to leave. Andrea, of course, she's starting to be charmed by the governor. She falls for it. She stays. The governor sends out Merle and a group of men to kill Michonne. Doesn't work out that way.
Was it Decorion or something like that? That guy's name. But Merle's like, what's your name?
Cartulio.
Cartulio.
Yeah. And, Merle still has a bit of racism in him. He makes racist comments to Michonne here and there.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't understand why Cartulio's name is what it is. He told him he's gonna call him Neo.
Yeah.
So now you have at this point you have Merle goes out, and obviously Michonne gets away. She kills all the soldiers except for Merle. Mm-hmm. Merle kills Cartulio because Cartulio says, we have to tell the governor that these guys died. And Merle's like, no, let this woman is crazy. She's going to kill us. Because Merle, at this point, he's bested by Michonne. And he knows that she's a threat. She's a formidable.
He can't take her out one-on-one.
He can't take her out one-on-one. So he's just like, let this bitch go.
Yeah, shoot the zombies. And the same thing. He pulled a Rick. Merle pulled a Rick here saying, she'll be dead.
He made a bad choice.
Yeah.
And so Merle goes back and he tells the governor a lie. And, he says, she got away. But, at the end of this episode, when he's getting away here, he runs into Maggie and Glenn. That's actually the next episode. So actually, I think we skipped ahead here, but the next episode is Hounded, and that's when Merle tracks Michonne.
Yeah,
and this is when Rick has totally lost it. This is actually a comic book scene remix. Rick finds a broken telephone, and he thinks that it's ringing, and he's hearing the dead voices of Jackie, Jackie, Jim, and Amy. Are making separate phone calls to him, telling him that there's a mysterious group out there. And then the last phone call is Lori herself telling Rick, you need to protect the baby and Carl. Obviously, Merle is out. He tracks Michonne. They get into the skirmish. They both they go separate ways at this point. Glenn and Maggie are sent out to scavenge for baby supplies because Lori just had to have Shane's baby. Um, so they go to a daycare center. They get supplies. They're on their way back, and who they run into? Michonne and Merle. However, Michonne is hiding because she doesn't know these people and she's wounded. And Merle, he's still Merle. He's trying to get back, and he's trying, he's gonna rob their car. He sees that these two have a vehicle. So Merle goes to steal the car, and he notices that it's Glenn. And Maggie doesn't know Merle at this point.
Can you imagine that? Can you imagine running into Andrea?
Yeah,
and then like a few days later, be like, Glenn?
Running into them. So it shows you that the world is small, and Merle actually gave you a hint on it. The world gets smaller as there's less of us.
Yeah.
So he kind of told you that the world is starting to shrink down. So it might be a little bit more common to run into people and when Glenn messed up by saying, Andrea's back at the prison, Andrea's back at camp with us, and Merle knew that Glenn was lying because obviously Andrea's in Woodbury. So he took that moment of vulnerability, and that, he took a moment there where Glenn's guard was down a little bit. He kidnaps both Glenn and Maggie, brings them back to Woodbury. Michonne takes the baby supplies back to the prison because she heard Glenn and Maggie talk about the prison.
Yeah, like, oh yeah, the prison is a straight shot east or west of, I forget which way they said.
Exactly. But so now Merle goes back to Woodbury, tells the governor, I didn't get Michonne, I killed Michonne, but Carchulio had the head, and the other guy had the sword. I only made it back, but I got you these guys.
Yeah.
And Michonne makes it to the prison, and Rick has lost his mind. He's hearing telephones ring and all this other bullshit.
I love when Herschel comes down. He's just like, what? What's going on? And he picks up the telephone. He's just like, okay. Hangs it up. It's like, so, yes.
So Michonne goes back to the prison, and of course she has Walker blood on her from slicing a Walker open. And this goes back to what Jay said last week about the blood. Mm-hmm. Well, Michonne got a gunshot wound, so you got to pay attention to that because Merle shot her in the leg. But Michonne has the Walker blood on her, and she has the basket of baby food. And Rick sees this through his binoculars. He goes to the gate, and he notices that it's a living person. And then of course episode 7 was when the dead come knocking. This is a continuation where Michonne is bleeding out. She's no longer can fight. Rick goes and saves her. I mean, before this even happens, Michonne touches her leg with the blood, and she puts her hand on the fence the same way Rick and Shane did, and the walkers smell that blood, and that's how they attacked her. So Michonne is fighting off walkers. She succumbs to being, bleeding out. Rick has to go save her. They drag her inside, and she tells them about Glenn and Maggie eventually. But at first,
it's probably Carl though that saves her. I wasn't sure. I think Rick would have been like.
I think Rick wanted to let her die because Rick had lost his mind.
Yeah. I don't know her. Let him meet him, and then we'll go out there and get it.
Yep. And then they go in and they question Michonne, and the governor interrogates Glenn and Maggie, and you thought that you were going to get some sort of a remix of the governor doing something very heinous to Maggie. They kind of tease a rape scene, but you can't have. That's the one thing I agree with. I don't think that you can have that on the show without pressing buttons. I think raping, you can write about that in a graphic novel, but you can't show that. That's kind of crossing the line. Now that has nothing to do with gore. That's something that you can write about and you have to read. But to see that, it's kind of crossing the line there.
That would last longer.
And the show would be canceled after that. So they tease the rape scene of the governor. I mean, when he's questioning Maggie, and you got a near death with Glenn. Now we're up to like 5. So Glenn is put in a room. Merle beats him up and then ties him to a chair. One of the greatest scenes of the season was Glenn breaking the chair and killing the walker.
Oh, that was. And that's showing Glenn, too, in a different light. Where it's
starting to show him becoming a survivor.
Yeah,
So the governor Merle now has he has an alibi. Like, he has a reason to go to the prison. He has a reason. They get Maggie to say that the group is in the prison.
Hmm.
Merle now has a reason to go and find his brother, because that was the whole reason why he captured Glenn and Maggie, because he wants to find his brother Daryl.
Yeah.
So now he has a reason. So the governor says, "Hey, look, you go and scout the prison, and you you tell me what's going on." And then you have on the other side, Rick, Daryl, Oscar, and Michonne are now going to Woodbury, because Michonne said, "Hey, look, your friends are in Woodbury, and I want to go back and kill the governor."
Yeah.
So you have these two groups now are going to meet and collide, and it sets up for a lackluster sort of mid-season
I
finale.
think so.
Um,
One thing to note is when Rick kind of grabbed Michonne's wound and almost like mini tortured her too.
yes,
You
so
know
you had
that
two scenes of
that's
torture.
that's turned to the evil side quite a bit.
Yeah, and it kind of showing you two sides of the coin in this whole season, and
Mm.
Rick is kind of taking that evil side, and they're trying to compare, like, leadership here. You got the
Yeah.
dictator and you got the governor. So you have a dictator and a governor. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So you really have two governors. And Rick actually says that in the second half of the season. "I'm no governor," and we'll get to that. But
Yeah.
Rick was the governor in a way. And like I said, he absorbs his antagonistic personality. So it's like he embodies these characteristics, and they're showing you this throughout the season. Like, Rick is making the same decisions per se as the governor. Um, so you got episode 8. You got Rick, Daryl, Oscar, and Michonne breaking into Woodbury.
Yeah.
You got Maggie and Glenn. They rescue Maggie and Glenn. Um, they use smoke bombs. You got Michonne venturing off from the group, going into the governor's house, where she found Penny, his apartment. And this is another reason why I didn't like this season as well. She goes in, she finds Penny. She sees that Penny is a walker. The governor comes in at the same time. He's completely vulnerable. He does not want Michonne to kill his little girl. Michonne kills her anyways. The governor and her get into a skirmish. Michonne stabs him in the eye. Now, Michonne is responsible for mutilating the governor in the comic books. But she
But
stabs
that's in
him in the eye.
retaliation to the heinous
Her
act that we were
being
talking about
raped.
earlier.
Her being raped. So we'll get into the differences. That's a big difference. So he stabs him in the eye with the glass, and when she's going for the killing blow with the katana blade, here comes stupid Andrea. So you get rid of one stupid female character, and you replace her with an even stupider Andrea. It makes no sense at all. So here she comes. She points the gun at Michonne, forgetting that Michonne has saved her life and that they were friends, because she got a little bit of penis from the governor. So you got this. You got this stupid relationship forming between Andrea and the governor. Michonne gets away. The governor is, he's got a piece of shard of glass in his eye. Um, it's all over the place. The group escapes. Daryl goes back because Glenn tells him that Merle's in Woodbury. Daryl goes back, basically to, he doesn't go. I'm sorry, Daryl doesn't go back. The group gets separated,
Yeah.
and what happens then is Daryl gets captured, Oscar gets killed, Rick hallucinates and thinks he sees Shane, and
That's
then
why Oscar got
everybody
killed.
exactly everybody escapes
Hmm.
except for Daryl. He's in, and we forgot to touch base on this. The governor has these fights, and we forgot to talk about Martinez. So
Yeah,
Martinez
yeah,
is
we got
there.
there.
Martinez is the right hand of the governor. And
I'd say like one of his lieutenants, but
Yeah, he is. And then you have the other guy there too. What the hell is his name? The doctor guy. I can't remember his name. Milton.
Milton,
So you
yeah,
got Milton and Martinez. Milton is the scientist that's on the side with the governor, and he's trying to find a cure for the Walker virus. He thinks that he can resuscitate a person by using different things to trigger their memory from events in their lives. They actually have a guy that volunteers, almost like a guinea pig. He volunteers to
yeah, he's
die.
on his way out.
Yeah, and they do a study where they do flashbacks of things in his life, so he can possibly remember them. And Andrea tells them it doesn't work. Um, Ends up not working. You
Of
got
course.
Martinez, who's the right hand man. He fights. He's in a gladiatorial arena fighting Merle. So you got the gladiator. Um, the gladiator part
It's like
where
WWE in the
yeah,
zombie
where the governor
apocalypse.
has his soldiers fight for the entertainment of Woodbury, and then you end with the mid-season finale, and you have Daryl squared off against the traitor Merle, because now Michonne is not dead like Merle said, and
Yeah.
and the governor is
Yeah.
pissed about it. So
Can't blame
you
him about that. I
no, you
mean,
can't. You can't blame him about that. So
no.
he was rightfully pissed. So he has Merle and Daryl pitted against each other in this arena to fight to the death, and then you cut out, and that's the end of the season, the mid-season. So it's like things I liked about it. They had a lot of good episodes. They introduced a lot of new characters. They had some slow episodes, but they didn't get the governor's story right, and I think that played a part in my dislike for the season, is because he's such a huge character. They didn't get him right.
Yeah.
They didn't explain his backstory. They didn't explain Penny's backstory. She was just dead.
Yeah. It's
Like,
just there.
why not talk about how she died? Even a blurb about it, Um,
Like after the
it,
fact, like him and Andrea or sometime, saying like, why'd you keep her, and
yeah,
backstory, this is what happened.
yeah, and they just, I mean, of course they had the non-rape scene, which was great, because you want the series to continue. You don't want it to end because they did something stupid.
Yeah.
Um, and you had a conflict between Michonne and the governor, and I just don't think. I mean, I didn't like that confrontation. I mean, it was just, I don't know. It felt incomplete. It didn't feel complete. It was a good battle scene, a good one-on-one fight between Michonne and the governor, but it just didn't do much for me. Showed that he had an eye patch. This is now, the second character with a mutation or mutilation. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You had Merle.
Merle. Well, I guess Herschel with the foot.
Herschel. Yeah. So you're starting to show mutilated body parts, which is good. But I just something was lacking. It had so many great moments, but something was lacking. I think it was just the development of the governor's character.
Yeah, it was. The group comes in, they attack everything, it goes to hell, and then Glenn and Maggie fight back. That goes to hell, and then they meet up, and then there's a fight, and then they run away with Maggie and Glenn.
Yeah,
And that plan goes to hell, and then and then later on that night, Governor gets his eye fixed up, and is like, let's have a talk. Let's
one-on-one
group
battle
together.
in the arena. Yeah,
It's
so
like we just got shot up like 20 minutes ago, and you're like, let's just dick around a little bit.
yeah, and what a crock of shit these guardsmen are for the governor. How the hell? You know what I'm saying? Like, these guys are pathetic, and it just, I don't know. I liked like Killer Within was a great episode. Seed was a great episode. Sick was a great episode.
I just went downhill a bit. I mean, we skipped right over Say the Word because there wasn't really much going on. And Rick goes a little crazy.
Yeah, but that was
Michonne
the
have
filler,
their button
that was the
heads.
filler episode,
Yeah.
and that filler episode just didn't do it for me either. I don't mind filler episodes. I told you that, but it didn't do it for me. And they watered. I mean, Merle was such a great character, but he was such a bitch when it came to the governor, and I just knew that was going to change. I think that was a strong point there too, to show that Merle was submissive, but you knew that wasn't going to last, because Merle Dixon.
Yeah.
And when he found out his brother was alive, he did what he had to do to get his brother. And here was another thing they did with the governor. When he's on top of the cars and he's hitting golf balls, he's teeing off there. Merle tells him, "Hey, look, I want to go find my brother." And Governor shoots him down, and then Merle goes, "That's my brother." And he starts to do the twitch. He starts to twitch.
I noticed that. Like, I guess his cheek was twitching over here.
Yeah, he was twitching, but he never did it again. It's like,
I was wondering if that was just because
What?
like there was sunlight, like, or his David Morrissey like actually
No,
forcing himself to twitch.
well, you got to remember the governor in the comic,
Mm-hmm.
the real governor, not the governor, but Philip Blake in the comics developed a series of twitches and ticks when
Yeah,
he went crazy after his daughter died.
yeah.
So I don't know if that was like an Easter egg to the comic readers, but again, that was incomplete. Why don't you, why don't you emphasize that? Why don't you show that whenever he gets mad, he starts twitching and ticking or whatever you want him to do? I just thought it was incomplete, and it was just like you take one of my favorite characters. This is when you take one of my favorite characters in the book, and I invest in reading about him, and you kind of don't do him justice here. You know what I'm saying? You don't do him justice here at all.
I mean, if you had a chance, read the comic and read the novels because he is.
He's insane. He's a
Yeah.
great villain. Literally, Rick he could not kill this guy. Rick didn't kill him. In fact, he, in the comic book, if it wasn't for his own going crazy, he actually defeated Rick.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
his group defeated Rick. He caused them to leave. It wasn't Rick couldn't beat Woodbury. It was almost like a stalemate at this point. But
Mm-hmm.
the governor had the upper hand, and it was one of his own that killed him. So it was like Rick. He really was a formidable opponent for Rick, and when you have such a great enemy in the comics, and then you make him what he was in the show, it kind of lost it a little bit there. I don't know, but
Yeah, then it
there
didn't
was
translate correctly.
it didn't translate correctly at all for me. I'm just like you just said. There was, like, don't get me wrong, watching this season again, I like Seed, I like Sick. I like the fact that Merle came back. We got to see Michonne. We got to meet the prisoners. I like Lori and T-Dog dying because they gave you deaths. I liked Herschel getting his leg, amputated. Um, I like the tension with the governor, Maggie, and Glenn. I like how they kind of tied that in.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just like it was something missing. And like Jay said, it took me to go back and watch it. And I'm telling you now, this was my least favorite of the season. But I could pick out the positives by going back and watching it, because I did appreciate the season more after watching it again after so long. I still am just irritated by how they did they just didn't
Yeah.
depict up.
Yeah. I mean, as bad as by it sounds, was saying it's my least favorite or our least favorite. It was still a good season compared,
No,
to
it was a
other
complete
shows and
season.
stuff. But
Yeah.
there's still something missing. Like I said, like we've been saying, the governor character. I think that was a miss.
And what made it so bad was, we'll get into this next week. What made it so bad is they stretched him out into season 4, but they didn't complete his story in season 3. And it's like, if you're gonna stretch him out in season 4, at least give us some of that story from season. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of give us a little backstory to him in season 4. But it wasn't just the governor that drove me crazy about this season. It was Andrea's character. That was another thing that they did that drove me crazy. That's not the Andrea that's in the comics. This is the Andrea. This Andrea makes no goddamn sense in the world. This is the worst. She's just as bad as Lori in my book, because nothing she does is logical. It's just stupid. It's just dumb as hell. And you get separated from your group, and Merle said to her, they left me behind too.
Yeah,
They didn't leave her behind on purpose. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And
It wasn't a choice.
Yeah, it was almost like she took this. Yeah, they screwed me over too. She took this stupid, the stupid stance against them when he said that. You see it. We got something in common, Blondie. And she's like, yeah, we do. He left me behind too. Come on, man. You can't.
And how do you
And he
choose
starts
this guy over your friend who literally kept you alive?
saved your life and everything,
Months.
kept you alive, saved your life, led you. She protected you, and then you guys found a safe haven, and she tells you, hey, something's not right. My instincts have been right this whole time. You have to trust me. And you go and say, nah, you know what? David Morrissey, or we will say, you know what? The governor kind of, he kind of gave it to me a little bit there, Michonne. I can't just go with you. I can't grow old with you on the beach. This guy, you can't choose that over your friend at that point.
No.
And she did.
Yeah, of course she did.
and,
I mean, she was
and,
going to
and,
kill him. This wasn't like a little argument, This
and
she literally stabbed this guy in the eye.
yeah,
There's zombie heads all over the place.
everywhere.
There's a dead girl, dead walking girl, dead girl there, and Michonne's got the katana to his face, and she's like, "No, don't. Why not?"
Exactly. And even then, even after you slept with the governor at this point, even after all this, you still had a chance of redemption here if you're Andrea. When you see your supposed best friend here, like Jay said, you got a dead zombie girl on the ground. You got the governor bleeding out the eyes. You got a whole bunch of heads on the freaking floor, including the heads of Michonne's pets. And Andrea just oblivious. I don't care about any of this shit. He's my man. It's like, what?
You guys aren't even dating. There's nothing official. It's not on Facebook. It doesn't count.
Oh.
Jeez.
No. So, I think it was the incompleteness of the governor, and I think it was Andrea's character. And I think that was the end of, I think that's when they started to look at Scott Gimple, and they started to say, Scott Gimple's writing a couple of good episodes here. He's been on some of the better episodes. He was on Killer Within. He helped write that one. He helped write Better Angels, which was the Pendulum episode in season 2. Mm-hmm. He also helped write the final episode of season 2. And he started to get some accolades there, and you started to see a little bit that the episodes started to fall a little bit and started to stray away from the comics a little too much, and Kirkman never wanted that. He said it, and like, this is based off of his comics, and you don't want it to be this exact same, but you can't make it, what I'm saying? You can't totally steer away from it. And at this point, they're really reviewing the show writers at this point. And when you had the mid-season finale and Kirkman wrote it, you kind of saw that something was going to change, because usually it's the writer that does the mid-season finales, and Kirkman kind of takes a back seat to them. He helps them, but Kirkman wrote the mid-season finale, and while it wasn't great, you could tell it was a change from what we saw. And of course, the second part was a little better. Had a couple of episodes that I really liked, and we'll get into that next week. But out of all the seasons, man, I'm not just gonna sit up here and give props all the time to The Walking Dead. I love the show, but when they have a down season, I'm gonna call them for it. They just had a down season. I mean, their numbers were all up, but they just had a down season after 2 incredible seasons.
So we're talking about differences in the comics. Well, just I guess we can talk more about that if you like a little bit. Mm-hmm. A lot of things a little bit different. They spent a lot more time in the prison in the comics, exploring that.
Yes. Tyrese is in the comics at this point.
Yep.
He's not yet. You do not have at this point in time. T-Dog still isn't in the comics. They break into the prison. They clear out the prison. It's not as exaggerated as they did here in the show. The prisoners are different.
Yeah, it seems to be kind of a trend for Kirkman in this comics. It's kind of like, hey, how's it going? Not too bad yourself. All right, want to join us? Sure.
Yeah.
Tyrese, Michonne later on, the prisoners. And it's just like there's not much of an interaction there, like there is in an actual show.
Yeah. And the prisoners, like we said, the prisoners were different. Tomas wasn't a prisoner.
Mhm.
Was Axel's he was a different pharmaceutical guy. He was actually the antagonist here. He killed. Did he kill the little kids? I think he did.
Yeah, he
Uh,
killed Herschel's kids.
he killed Herschel. Yep. Um, so
A lot more like psychological changes in people
it was it was
in the
it was
comics.
it was very different in the comics. At this point, they had the rape scene here. At this point, when they had the
They,
attempted rape scene.
yeah, I don't think they
Comics,
hit that.
they,
I guess like there's such a departure from the comics from the show. It's tough to keep I guess that timeline right because Michonne joins up before you even know the governor.
yeah.
Um, you have the prisoners. There were a couple who had to be killed.
Well, what happened in the comics was they were scouting, and the prisoners. It was Glenn and Michonne
Yeah,
and Rick. They came across Woodbury, and the governor in the comic book, he was the governor. He was like a peacock.
yeah,
He showed his feathers, and he brought them on a tour of Woodbury, but he also brought them in to interrogate them because that's the similarity there. The governor wanted to be the strongest group. He wanted his group to be the strongest group out there, and he
yeah,
wanted all the competition to die out because he did not want to have competition. He
yeah.
purposely wanted to manipulate even the competition to letting their guard down so he can attack them. So in the comic, he takes Rick in the back and he separates him from Glenn and Michonne, and he chops his hand off.
Yep,
So
which Kirkman will later regret doing.
he regretted doing, but he did the Easter egg of Merle getting his hand cut off
Yeah, yeah.
because he did not want to do that for the main character of Rick because
He's gonna be around forever, and now you have
yeah.
to work around this.
Yeah, so he said, let me give the comic book readers another guy that lost
Mm.
his hand. It was Merle, and that was pretty creative. Um, and then of course, when they separated Glenn and Michonne, they tried to interrogate Glenn about the prison. They couldn't get anything out of him, and then the governor rapes Michonne over and over and over again, and they still can't get anything out of her.
Yeah.
So the governor actually has Martinez, his right hand, orchestrate an escape just so they could find out where this prison is. So it was very methodical. The governor in the comics was very methodical, very sadistic, and the governor here is more of a manipulator. But he's not. He's just. I can't put my finger on what the difference is. There's too many.
It's just a
And
different character,
it
It's
is.
just
And it gets frustrating because you read the comics and you get invested into this character,
mhm.
and he doesn't live up to it. So it's just like, oh man, that kind of stuff. Even Martinez was a watered down version of himself in the comics, and it was just like Martinez was a very big. And then they had,
I guess I could see why they changed it up a little bit, just with the newer season coming up. The Pavness possibly of like a dissenter, someone betraying like that thought, the notion of it,
yeah,
and they don't want to maybe possibly ingrain that into the viewers.
yeah.
Where
So
it's like, let's not do that again down the road. But it's just so many differences, just with the characters, with Herschel on the farm. Glenn and Maggie's still back there when they first get to prison, and then they lock it down, so then they go back and get everybody from there.
yep.
It was different, that's for sure.
Another character that they kind of remixed in a weird way was Dr. Stevens in the comic book. He was a huge character in the comic book,
Oh yeah.
or at least the graphic novels. He was a disgruntled employee of the governor's. He was the only doctor in Woodbury at the time. They kind of remixed this doctor with
Milton there.
Milton, and they actually had a Dr. Stevens that worked on the governor's eyes and worked on Andrea. There's a black woman in the show, if you remember. And then later on, the Dr. Stevens' name was Edward Stevens. In season 5, the doctor in the hospital's name was Stephen Edwards. So he kind of mixes stuff up, and he kind of makes you look at this. If you're a comic book reader, you can catch this stuff.
Yeah.
If you're not, it's just like new characters. But Dr. Stevens was a huge character in the comic books, and he helped Rick and the group escape as well. So not having Dr. Stevens and his sarcasm and his wit, that took a lot. I mean, you had Milton. He was kind of like Dr. Stevens, but he was more submissive to the governor,
Oh
where
yeah.
Dr. Stevens in the comic book hated the governor.
And this guy's almost open with it. It's like, what are you gonna kill me? I'm the doctor.
Yeah,
You
I'm
can't
the
kill
doctor. You
me.
can't kill me.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, keep it
exactly. So you had those differences, and I was disappointed that they didn't have Dr. Stevens. Um, but again, like you say, you look back at it, you find a couple of episodes that you really like.
Mm-hmm.
The first part of the season, I like 1, I like 2, I like 4, and then it kind of got funky after that.
I agree. Yeah.
But the second part, I think the second half was better, because now you're starting to have this confrontation between the governor and Rick. So we'll get into that next week. Got a couple of questions here.
Sure. Yeah.
So I was asked last time to make a playlist of my favorite episodes. So I came up with the first episode of Walking Dead. I came up with season 1, episode 1. So that's Days Gone By. So that was number 1. So you got to watch them in order. You can't just put it on random. After that, Vatos was next. That's when Amy and Ed Pelletier got murdered, and you had the campfire scene.
Mm-hmm.
Then I don't skip over the season finale, because I think that was a good, they went to CDC, and I think that was good. That's my filler episode, was a CDC. So then you go into the finale.
Yeah.
There, and then season 2, episode 1. That's next. So you got 1-1. I'll write it down for people. 1-1.
Yeah, and then shoot an email to me, and I'll throw it up on on the interwebs.
1-1. 1-1. 1. I'm gonna say 1-4. 1-6. 2-1. And that's the season premiere of season 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go to there's so many episodes in season 2 that I liked. So I want to go to the one. Let me just go. I gotta get the actual number. I'm sorry, guys. What was the episode where they where Shane killed Otis? I think that was 2, 3. That was number 4. So season 2, episode 4, and you can get the names, Jay. Later.
Let's see here now. Carl recovering. The group puts their nope. Carl's condition continues to deteriorate. Shane always try to dodge the walkers as they head back to the farm. Save the last one.
Yeah. And then you have the mid-season finale. One of my favorite of all time. So that's episode 2-8 or 2-7. Sorry.
Pretty much dead already. 7.
Pretty much dead already. And then after that, you have 2, consecutively. You have 2, 10, 11, 12, and 13. So, 10, 11, 12, 13. And then you have 3-1, 3-2, 3-4. Then we skip over 8 because I didn't like that. So you're not gonna get a mid-season finale there. We're gonna get into this next week. This is Clear. It's 3-12. Surprising one. People are gonna be surprised that I say this episode, but I liked it. This is another one of my fillers. 3-13. Air on a Doorstep. Mm-hmm. 3-14, Prey. I like that episode. 3-15. That may actually, when we get into 3-15, that was my second favorite episode. We'll get into that next week. And I didn't like the season finale. And then we'll continue next week. I'll give you the second part of it. So I gave you up to season 3. And then I'll give give you the rest the next episode before we come to the break. But that's my first half. That's a lot. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So that's almost like my own season 1. And then I'll give you my season 2 of my playlist. What I set my playlist on when I'm tired and I want to go to bed. This is what I watch. So, and then the second question was, what did we like? What were our favorite songs of The Walking Dead? And this is the exact question. What were your favorite songs from The Walking Dead? I noticed that they started to have more music as of season 3. I'm sticking to the theme that you guys are going half seasons at a time. And due to the fact that you're on season 3, what were your favorite songs from season 3 and beyond? So season 3 started off with the trailer. When we saw the trailer, it was Kerry Kimmel, Black. That was a great song. Kerry Kimmel, Black, Warm Shadows by Fink, Lead Me Home by Jamie and Commons, Blackbird's song in season 4 by Lee DeWise, Arson's Lullaby by Hoosier, and that's the season 6 trailer. Surfings from season 2 from season 4, which is Sharon Van Etten, and then you have Civilian by Wide Oak. So you have a lot of that's like a playlist in itself too. But The Walking Dead kind of puts the best songs for their trailers. So if you ever look at trailers, you'll see it. You'll see these songs. You'll hear these songs, and even season 7 trailer had a good song.
I think one of the songs that stuck with me is with Herschel after he got done fighting the zombie over the.
Yeah, I know, Midas Touch.
That one was, I think
that was a good one too. That's season 4. So
like whenever you get that acoustic guitar kind of a alt rock indie kind of feel to it, I think it fits in with that kind of depressing mood going on there, and with Herschel kind of reflecting on what the hell just happened there. I think that paired up really well. And
then even season 4, if you're kind of into a little bit of more country, the Last Pale Light, it kind of told the story of the governor in season 4 when he separated. We'll get into that.
How can I forget? What's his name? The son from Alexandria. After he died, his playlist there has a good Nine Inch Nails song.
The son from Alexandria. Oh yes. That's also, you can. He has a couple of songs, that he, they purposely made a playlist. When not Spencer, what the hell was his? I don't even remember his name. But when he died, they sat around and listened to his playlist. Deanna and her husband and Spencer.
Somewhat Damaged is the name of the song.
Somewhat Damaged.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
So you got a lot of good songs. My favorites were the ones I named. Jay has some favorites too. We can make that playlist for you too. I'll give it to Jay.
Yeah, and, that's one of the things where I almost feel like I have to rewatch everything again just to be like, I like that one. Yeah. But I think from here on out, I'll definitely be listening to it. So that's a good question. I'll start taking notes.
Yeah, and just as the music of The Walking Dead is incredible.
Oh, the intro! Oh my god, I don't know who how they wrote it, but they must have just had, champagne like we did after Lori dying. It must have been a celebration. It's like this nails it. That is that repeating violin. Line. It's just so airy, so creepy, but so simple at the same time. It's perfect for the show.
And you got to look at his name is Bear McCreary, and he did the intro to The Walking Dead, but he also did Daryl has his own special theme song for himself. The governor had one which was excellent. The governor's theme song was even better in the season 4 mid-season finale. You had Carl and Rick's kind of theme song, whenever they had a moment together. Yep. That was replayed. So Bear McCreary is a really good composer, and he's done a good job. Even even like Negan, you know, in the season premiere this year, and
Yep.
they just knock it out of the park in every aspect except for the governor's character and Andrea, and then Laurie.
Yeah.
So other than that, it's a great show. We kind of, this season was kind of, jumbled a little bit. The second half is gonna, it's gonna come together a little bit more, so it's gonna make more sense as we depict the second half.
Yeah.
But you
While we're
know,
on the music, real quick, just a few other in the same medium. I love the Silent Hill 2 soundtrack. If you guys haven't listened to that, that's some creepy guitar esque uh, sound in there, some
and
strange noises, and also The
it,
Last of Us have kind of that same airy, creepy, melancholy feel to everything. So check those out.
Silent Hill 2 and 3,
Yeah.
they both had great ones. But if you really don't play video games like we do or whatnot, you can watch Silent Hill the movie, and they basically take all of the music from Silent Hill
Hmm.
and they put it into that movie, and there's just great music if you're into that kind of stuff, like creepy music and stuff like that, or if you're making your own show, or you're trying to get like a soundtrack for creepiness. Look at the movies, look at The Walking Dead, and just great music, and that was great. I agree with you. Silent Hill 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. So
Oh yeah, yeah, same. I throw that
just
soundtrack on
incredible.
sometimes, like I'm coding or something like that. Just some
Yeah,
instrumental noise. Uh,
it's incredible. So definitely
hmm.
look into that. Those of you Resident Evil fans, Resident Evil the final chapter is out this Friday. That's where I miss Jay being up here, because nobody goes with me to see this shit. So but another good show. We got a couple more questions. I'll answer. Like I said, we're gonna answer two or three of them every show. If I didn't get to your question, don't worry. These were from last week's. We're gonna get to them next week. Got a couple more questions, and I promise to answer two more.
Maybe we'll
And
do just like one show just completely of Q&A.
yeah, so we have a couple of weeks before the premiere, anyways.
Yeah.
We'll figure something out. Jay and I'll figure something out on what to do um, for those two shows. We have some ideas, and hope you enjoy them, I guess.
Yeah. Other than that, tune in next week as we talk about the second half. If you have the chance, check out our charity down below. It's still currently the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. If you can donate, please do. If you can't, you can still help us out by sharing our website, our YouTube channel, or any kind of social handle that we have here, Twitter, Twitch. Also, just click on the ads. That gives us revenue, which will then go directly to the charity. Our 100% proceeds, profit, goes to charity. So any little bit helps.
Yeah. And thank you for the views. We got up to about 73 views in the last episode, so
Yeah.
it means people are spreading the word a little bit. So slowly but surely, we're getting to my goal of 100. Maybe we'll get there. One of these episodes will probably eclipse 100 eventually, but you guys are great, and thank you for watching as always.
Yeah, we appreciate it. We really do. And if, like usual, any questions, send them on in. The contact form on our website. Or if you know James personally, just go bother him when he's trying to quote-unquote work.
Thanks, Jay.
Yeah. Threw you in the bus there. Well, hey, James, thanks again for putting this all together. And thank everybody for viewing. And we'll catch you guys next time.
Have fun, everybody.